Hello and welcome back to the next part. And in this video, I'd like to show you how you can actually calculate the cost. Because so far what we did was we calculated the total sales, right? And we did it at first using a calculated column, and then we did it using a measure. So both ways are possible. But now what about the total cost? Because if we take a look at, I go to my data view here. Let's take a look at our, in this case, the sales table, which is this one. We can see that we got a quantity, we got a price. So it was easy actually to simply multiply the two columns and get the specific sales value, right? But what about the cost? Because there is no cost value within the sales table here. So how do we calculate now the cost? Well, what we have is we have a product data, right? Table. So if I go to product data table, we can see that for each product we have the specific cost related to this product, right? And in our sales table, if we go back to the sales table, what we have is we have the specific product ID, which is actually our connection to our product's data, and we got the quantity, right? So what we can do is we can simply multiply the quantity times the specific cost value from our product data, which we look up using this ID, which is the field where the two tables, so here our product data and our sales table, are connected, right? So based on the product ID. So this is why we need this model structure and we need this connection in order to look up basically the specific, for the specific product ID, there it is, for the product ID, we look up the specific cost within the product data table. And then what we do is we multiply this specific cost value times the quantity of the specific sale, okay, in order to get the total cost. And if we go back to the report, we can do that using a measure, okay? So we go in here and select new measure, and I click on it, and I got my measure, and let me open this and make it, let me zoom in to make it bigger. And for the measure, I name it total cost, okay? The total cost measure. And I say this total cost measure is equal to, and now what I can say is, I can actually go in a new line if I like to do that, but in this case, it's not necessary. Let's say total cost is equal to, and now I say I'm using a sum x function again. Why sum x? Because in this case, I need to iterate over a table, so for my sales table, and for each row in my sales table, I need to look up the product ID. I need to get the specific cost value for this product ID within my products table, and then I need to multiply this by the specific quantity value within my sales table again, okay? So what we do is we need to specify a table. So in this case, it's the sales table. So sales table. So let's go down here, scroll down. There it is, the sales table. Select it and press enter, the sales table. And for the expression, I like to have, well, I'm using my quantity, right? So quantity from my sales table. And now I simply need to get the cost. So I can't simply type in multiply cost. So if I search for cost, there is no cost, okay? So what I need to do is, I need to change actually now the context, because now I'm not referring to the sales table, I'm referring to a related table. And because the two tables, the customer data table, the product data table as well as the sales table are related, I can use the related function. So related, and here returns a related value from another table, exactly what we need. So related, and then I simply can refer to my product data table, so product data, and here the cost, okay, like that. So basically what we do is, within the sales table, we iterate through all rows in the sales table. For each row, we take a look at the quantity, and we multiply the quantity sold times, in the related column, the product data column, in the related table, the product data table, the specific cost value. And we get this cost value because within the same row in our sales table, we have a product ID, okay? That's how we do it. And then we close this, the related, and then we close the sum x function. And then we can press enter. And now we got the total cost in here. And let me make this smaller, and again, zoom out, like that, okay? So, and now we can use it. Let me at first click on it, and let's go to the modeling, and let's actually make this also a dollar value. So click on it and say these are United States, US dollars, and we got it. And now let's select the table again, so we can see not only the total sales, but also the cost related to this specific sale amount to this customer. So we can select total cost in here, and we can see now we got the total cost value, okay? So it's here for each of the customer. Again, the filter applies because we got the one-to-many relationship, okay? So this would be one thing. Now the next is we might like to calculate the total profit, right? Because now we got total sales as well as total cost. And one more thing, you can see my total costs are currently not in my measures table, so let me first select it, and let's also go here on the home table, and let's actually put this in the measures table, okay? Like that. Okay, we got the total cost, and now let's create a new measure, which is the profit, okay? Now let's select new measure here, and now we got the measure. Let's again go in here, zoom in, and say for this measure, this is simply the total profit. And the great thing with measures is we can simply directly refer to them. Okay, so the total profit is simply my total cost, total sales, sorry, here, total sales, and we simply subtract the total cost, like that. Okay, and that's it. That's everything you need to do, and you press enter, and we get the total profit. Let me also make this smaller again, zoom out, and let's actually use this. So select the table again, so we can see it, make it a little bigger, and then simply select the total profit, okay? Total profit, and we can see the total profit. And again, select it and say these are United States dollars, so the dollar amount, okay? So 75,080 minus this 49,460 are exactly 25,620, okay? And the same is true, of course, for all the other rows in this table as well. And the total profit is this, so 8.3 million, okay? And of course, we also have the option to create this as a card. So if we deselect the table and select total profit, for instance, and then make this a card again, you can see that we got 8 million. If we select the card, go on a format and say for the data label, we want to switch it off, so not auto, set to none, we can see this is the exact value in here, okay? So it's evaluated. So this would be an option to calculate then the total profit. So pretty easy when you basically create calculations based on measures. All you need to do in order here, for instance, for the total profit is simply subtract those two. Okay. And also, if you like to create maybe the profit margin here, because we got here only the absolute value or the absolute amount, we can also do this, and we can simply again click on the modeling on a new measure. And again, you can see I created in the customer data, but I can move it up there then. So what I like to do is, I like to take a look, make it a bit bigger. This is the profit margin. So profit margin, and say is equal to, and now what you can do is simply type in the profit. So profit, the total profit, this is exactly the measure, and we simply divide it by the total sales. Okay, total sales. There it is. Select it with a tab and press enter, and we got the total profit margin. I select it, and also I go in here and select percentage, because it's a percentage figure, right? So I got this, and then I go on the home table on the modeling, and also select, this is actually a measure, so go to the measures table, put it in here, and then simply select our table again, and simply select the profit margin, and then we can see the exact profit margin for each customer, which we have, okay? And of course, we can then, if you like to do is, sort on them and can see the highest profit margin actually was generated with Donald Reynolds. Okay, so that's that for creating measures. Hopefully you understood what we did. In case you got any questions, of course, feel free to ask them. But I encourage you to hopefully, do this as well. Try it out with a data set or your own data set. And as always, thanks a lot for watching. I hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, best guys.